A lot to do today. I have never, ever called for an opposing voice to be silenced, not even Osama bin Laden. I believe it is better to have debates in the light of day. At least people can make an informed decision, and by challenging people, it makes people stronger. We can disagree, but it doesn't seem so anymore in America. Have the debate. Others cower. Right now, Soros and his billions of dollars are mounting what they describe as a guerrilla war and sabotage on all of Fox News. That's a quote. And, of course, this program. I guess we're quoting them again, dangerous. Well, let me ask you, who is more dangerous to a free republic? The one that supports open debate or the one that disguises himself, calls it an open society while trying to silence all debate? Of course, George Soros doesn't want my voice on the air. Of course, he wants you to sit down as well. Of course, he turns down our invite to be on the show, claiming that he would just be made to look like a foolish old man by me, which couldn't be further than the truth. The only thing that would make George Soros look foolish is his ideas spoken clearly out in the open. Ideas that are wildly out of step with the American people, and I do believe becoming dangerous, which is why he has to keep them in disguise. He has put together one serious operation. It's a serious operation that is on the wrong side of history. For example, do you know about the Soros-funded International Crisis Group? Look up the International Crisis Group. It is, it's quite amazing. And it seems to be right in the center of almost everything that is happening overseas, especially in Libya now and Egypt. The International Crisis Group has consistently worked to support the groups in the Middle East who want to establish an Islamic government, including the Muslim Brotherhood and even Al-Qaeda. There is a report that came out in June 2008. It's this one. It's entitled, Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood, Confrontation or Integration. Guess what they decided would be best? It was put out by his group, the International Crisis Group, who I believe he sits on the board, and so did El Baradei for a while. Well, he resigned as soon as he got that call. The report calls on Egypt's government and calls the crackdown of Egypt's government back then, the crackdown on the Muslim Brotherhood, as, quote, dangerously short-sighted, adding the regime should take preliminary steps to normalize the Muslim Brotherhood's participation in political life. Oh, had Mubarak only listened. Had he only listened. Now, while Soros's group advocates for these radical groups, he then singles out Israel, calling them, I'm quoting, the main stumbling block to the transformation of the Middle East. He added in this report, in reality, Israel has much to gain from the spread of democracy in the Middle East, as the United States has, but Israel is unlikely to recognize its own best interest because the change is too sudden and carries too many risks. Isn't it good to have a grandpa or a great-great-great-grandpa that will just take us all by the hand and just fix all our problems because we're just too dumb or young to understand? Remember, George Soros says Israel is the main problem in the Middle East transformation. It's too scary for them. George Soros is also the guy that believes that this, quoting him, the main obstacle to a stable and just world order is the United States. Whoa! So let's see if we have this right. Israel and the U.S. is an obstacle to what he or his groups believe should happen. Huh. You know who else thinks that? Osama bin Laden. Oh, I know. How about like Iran? Wait, we didn't stand up for the people of Iran. That's a weird coincidence. It's almost like Iran. Remember, they say we're the great Satan and Israel is the little Satan. They're just using Satan while he's using obstacles. See? Now, what about Iran? Well, Iran, they're a little different. They're spookier than even Spooky Dude. They want to wipe Israel off the map. And they just produced a video saying that the Islamic Messiah is on his way soon. Good, the Messiah is coming? No. It's like it's opposite day reading the book of Revelation. Got it? How about the Muslim Brotherhood? The leaders who are openly talking about starting a war with Israel. I thought that they should be brought into the political fold. I want to pretend here for just a moment that the news is just a bunch of completely spontaneous, unrelated events. No one is orchestrating anything. And that George Soros wants all the countries of the world to have a Jeffersonian constitution. And that there's nobody on the planet that believes in the 12th Imam or the Mahdi that's going to behead all the unbelievers planet-wide. Or that the administration, let's pretend the administration hearts Israel, okay? And every child in every high school is as talented as all of the kids at that high school on Glee. Now, with that in mind, let's look at the direction in the Middle East. Do you think it's headed towards the peaceful conclusion? To a happier world? Do you think it's going to end well, or not so much? Are things happening that are beneficial to the survival of Israel, or not so much? Is there any leader in the world standing up for Israel, or not so much? Yeah, Bob, I'd have to go for not so much. Israel is under attack. And let me show you just a couple of things. Okay, first of all, we have George Soros's powerful group and his players in the White House saying that they're obstacles, and also his players in the White House are pushing the Responsibility to Protect Act. But let's look here. Obama says that just last September that we want a Palestinian state, that it was possible within a year. Listen to this exactly.
When we come back here next year, we can have an agreement that will lead to a new member of the United Nations, an independent, sovereign state of Palestine.
When they meet a year from that speech, so a year from that speech would be September and 2011. Now, today we learned from an Israeli paper that an unnamed European diplomat has told them, quote, international recognition of Palestinian statehood appeared to be unavoidable in September. Okay, so September of 2011. Hamas is calling on the Arab League to stop Israel from exploiting regional instability to carry out massacres against Palestinians. Wait a minute, that one goes under the Responsibility to Protect, which is this new George Soros, Cass Sunstein wife kind of thing. We'll get into that later. Okay, got it. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas says he's willing to give up millions in U.S. aid in order to get just a unity deal with Hamas. Great, okay. So they're willing to negotiate. Reports this week also say that Abbas ordered lawmakers to complete a draft legislation for a future state. So in other words, draft up the legislation so we can have an independent state within 6 months. Then 6 months, that would be, oh yeah, that would be the 9th month of this year. So let's go what else we know here. The UN is considering to recognize the Palestinians as an independent state. Yeah, we got that one too. We got this, we got this, we got this. All righty. Norwegian Socialist Party? Yeah, they're calling for action now against Israel. Military action. They're going to use the Responsibility to Protect, I think. Muslim Brotherhood is now poised to grab power in Egypt and Libya. Yeah, that's going to be great. They say that they're just ready to declare war against Israel. Oh, and one more thing that I'm sure it's not a problem. Remember the president said last night that I'm ready to turn this over to NATO. That's what we're going to do because we've done our job. It's weird. Because just this morning, I wonder if something happened overnight. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, wait for it, said, wait a minute, we're not going to turn it over to the NATO forces yet because we haven't decided if we're going to, haven't decided yet. I have no idea. Arm the rebels. Don't know. Might not. That brings us to the Responsibility to Protect doctrine. This states that states have the right to protect the population, in fact, the responsibility to protect the populations from genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and ethnic cleansing. This is apparently what was happening in Libya. That's what we use, justification to wage kinetic military action against a country that, as Defense Secretary Gates said, was not a vital interest to the United States. But we had a responsibility to protect. And that was an idea spawned by none other than Samantha Power. She's a White House aide and the wife of the most dangerous man in America, Cass Sunstein. I'm thinking about calling them the most dangerous couple of the year, because she's now out in the press bragging that it was Obama who triggered the Libya uprising. What? Excuse me. I'm sorry. Power, before being in the White House, explicitly stated how she would deal with Israel. Here she is.
What we need is a willingness to actually put something on the line in service of helping the situation. And putting something on the line might mean alienating a domestic constituency of tremendous political and financial import. It may more crucially mean sacrificing or investing, I think more than sacrificing, literally billions of dollars not in servicing Israelis military, but actually in investing in the new state of Palestine, in investing billions of dollars it would probably take also to support, I think, what will have to be a mammoth protection force. Any intervention is going to come under fierce criticism, but we have to think about lesser evils, especially when the human stakes are just becoming ever more pronounced.
It's too high. That bad Israel. The responsibility to protect doctrine. It worked in Libya, and they're going to try it again against Israel because the stakes are just too high. Back in 2009, they've already, they tried this back in 2009. No, it didn't go well for them. No. You know who tried this? UN official Robert Falk said Israel was guilty of war crimes, not self-defense, after they attacked Gaza. In the letter that he wrote, and from an interview from the Institute for Policy Studies. Institute for Policy Studies. That is another George Soros group. Wow, it's the same one that came up with another report. Begging Obama to rule by executive order. It was great. When they asked the slightly leading question about the killing of 1,300 Palestinians, mostly women and children, and if it could have been stopped by the UN, the answer was a strong General Assembly resolution would have set the stage for follow-up enforceable resolutions, possibly including mechanisms for holding Israeli officials accountable, and an arms embargo, or even deploying a ceasefire enforcement or protection force, perhaps based on the Assembly's own embrace of the doctrine known as the responsibility to protect. You know what, a couple of years ago we could laugh this stuff off because these are just some kooky progressives that we didn't think anybody listened to. But they're the ones calling the shots, and boy, they have been busy while we were asleep. It's pretty obvious, if you want to look at the facts, where the next shot is heading.